All right, we're live. Welcome to Mixing Night. My name is Ken Lewis, and I make records for a living. I have the weirdest discography in the entire music industry with 101 gold records to back it up. So join me for the next 2 hours and let me take your mind off of just how shitty the world currently is. COVID is raging here in America, that's for sure. But I have one simple question for those that know. Who has diamond hands? That's the question of the week. I've got diamond hands. I'm holding. If you know, you know. If this is your first broadcast, welcome to my live stream. Stick around, subscribe, jump on the chat roll with the awesome Mixing Night community, but please keep it respectful and don't feed the trolls. They're not worth your time. In a moment, I'm going to be sprint mixing a song called Blur by Skidmore Fountain, which is also the song used for the Creative Mixing Challenge tonight that we had running on our Discord channel. The winners of that are going to win Arturia effects bundles and Arturia modulators bundles. The top three get Arturia shit. So killer prizes tonight. I'm excited about that. We had a bunch of great submissions for the contest. We had dozens and dozens of entries. I narrowed it down to the top 10, and I'm going to play short snippets of the top 10 for you guys tonight so you can hear all the different directions everybody went in, and then I'll pick winners, and they'll get their prizes. So in a few minutes, you get to see me sweat. I don't know if you know what sprint mixing is, but imagine if somebody invented a real-life, live-action, single-player video game, but for mixing. Well, that's what I did. So, not really. It's a real life thing. So, it's called sprint mixing. It's fun as hell. It's completely in the box. So, when you see me do it, I'm on the SSL, but I'm using the controller half of the SSL, not the analog half. So, this is completely in the box. It's for every level, complete beginners through Jedis. You're about to see me do the Jedi level. And you can find a bunch of these sprint mixes at my school. Who didn't know I have a school? I have a school, audioschoolonline.com, audioschoolonline.com. Bunch of sprints there. That is the fastest way to get your mixing chops better, bar none, and you're about to see me do it. Okay, so our artist Harler, spelled Harlor, I'm going to play their new single later on tonight. They released their new single As a Dream this week, produced by us, Catalyst, me and Brent Colatalo. And the group also. Early numbers are strong. We dropped it on Friday. Early streams were really, really good. We're keeping our fingers crossed with this. So please check out and support Harler. It's on Instagram. It's We Are Harler. WeAreHarlor. Boom. I'll show it to you later. Okay. We do a lot of artist development around here, and Harler is the artist that we're developing right now. We have really high hopes for them, so check them out early, and then you can say that you heard them before anybody else did, because everybody's going to be hearing them. Lots of great pre-submitted questions tonight. I'm going to get to as many as I can, and I'm also going to field them on the chat roll live. So I have Dominic live on the chat roll feeding them to me on a screen. So if you are dropping questions on the chat roll, somebody is looking for them and trying to feed me the best ones. I'll get to as many as I can. Ear training tonight is going to be phase coherency. We did something similar to this one time before. This is kind of part two. Two different challenges. The first one is I'll play a stereo signal twice, and one has phase manipulation in it and the other doesn't, and you have to tell me which one is more in phase and which is more out of phase. And the other part of the challenge is I've created a couple places where I have layered kicks together, and one example the kicks are more in phase, and the other example the kicks are less in phase. Same with 808s and kicks. So this is going to be a multi-level challenge, and it's really going to help dial your ears in to what phase coherency is, what it sounds like when it's happening, so you can hear it in real time, and also the different ways that it can be affecting your signals. So stick around for that. I think that's going to be about 9 o'clock, maybe 9:20, 9:15, I'm not sure. Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night Man of Mystery, brings you a killer segment tonight on distribution platforms. Marcus is always bringing you the best segments to help your music get out to the masses. So in my last Mixing Night episode, we did the income episode, where we broke down income streams for artists, producers, and engineers. So if you guys missed that, go restream it on this channel whenever you want. It's just a wealth of information for you guys. So that was really fun and challenging to put together, and pretty comprehensive for 2 hours. So over at the Discord channel now, wow, we're well over 2,000 strong on the Discord channel and holding. We did a creative mixing challenge. I posted up raw stems of a verse and a chorus of Skidmore Fountain's Blur that I'm about to sprint mix. And I let you guys, I just gave you some really ambiguous instructions. Creatively mix it in a different direction than I did, which could mean that you chopped up the stems and rearranged them, and it could just mean that you took it in a heavier direction than I took it in a lighter direction. Who knows? So you're going to hear all the results later on. The top 3 get Arturia plugins, the FX bundle, and the modulators bundle. Killer stuff. Okay, enough talk. I'm going to have to get to putting my money where my mouth is. I'm going to do this Blur sprint mix. So, sprint mixing, what it is on the Jedi level. So if I originally produced this song, it was probably 70 or 80 or 90 tracks. And then after the final mix is done, I stem it out into mixed stems. So there's about 30 mixed stems, which means I have about 20 seconds total per stem to make final decisions on where everything goes. Faders down to completely finished in only 10 minutes. And this isn't teaching you how to mix like this. The point isn't, oh, I'll get you to mix faster. The point is really the most powerful thing about sprint mixing is learning the instinctive way to balance things, because constantly, all day, all night long, whenever you're in the studio, you are constantly either balancing faders or balancing signals with a mouse. And the better and more instinctive you are at doing that, the better all of your work across the board is going to be. And that's really the skills that sprint mixing teaches you. Those skills also help your mixing, when you're spending a long time doing a full mix. It's just, you'll see. You should check them out. All right, I'm going to mask up. It's still the apocalypse out there. America is in a really, really bad place right now. I'm trying to climb out of it. We're on the vaccination list. I thought I would be vaccinated by now, but the New Jersey vaccination is rolling out real slow. So, we'll get vaccinated when we get vaccinated. But until then, keep your masks on, people. It is dangerous out there. And I'm going to put 10 minutes on the clock and put the heavy metal lights on and get to sprinting. This is going to be Skidmore Fountain Blur. All right. Okay. Boom. Here we go. 10 minutes on the clock. Start to finish. Come what may. All right, Mazzy. If you haven't seen Mazzy yet, here's Mazikeen Lewis in the house tonight. All right.
Let it slip away, blame it on your heavy swollen eyes. Your wish is for better weather, heavy swollen eyes. Heavy swollen eyes. Heavy swollen eyes. It's all over. It's all over. We are all so full of ourselves.
I would never do that in real life. This is only to max it out freaking. This is a volume knob. That's really it.
Your wish is for weather, gets you nothing but sleet snow. Looks water right through the rain. Finally, it's all over. It's all
Real pots and pans.
Watch us move fast forward. Take his bags and tip him friendly. Lose yourself in plastic candy dolls. In the finally took some time to gather pieces of the puzzle in New York, New York. Take it for granted, let it slip away, blame it on your heavy swollen eyes. Finally took some time to gather pieces of the puzzle in New York, New York. Take it for granted, let it slip away, blame it on your heavy swollen eyes. Finally took some calls in the city. She looks pretty. fast forward. Take his bags and dip.
Start to finish, 10 minutes. I'm going to let you listen to like the first minute of the mix so I can show you I actually did it. This is totally in the box. You can do this too. You can work up to this. I have these mapped out in levels. So level 1 gets you started, level 2 increases your skills, and it's stepped up just like a video game for 6 levels. When you hit Jedi level, you're fucking with me. Alright, here's a little bit of Blur.
In a hurry, life is blurry. Watch us move like a VCR. Fast forward. Take his bags and tip him friendly. Lose yourself in plastic candy dolls. In the city, she looks pretty anywhere else, just like a bad disease.
Did you know you can tune cellos with auto-tune? Let me get my lighting back to show lighting here. Hang on. Alright, and broadcast. Okay. Enough sprint mixing, but let me do like a breakdown of basically what I did and what I'm doing and some of the strategies that I'm using while I'm sprinting. You know, you probably saw me a lot of times just do real quick solo and off, quick solo and off. And what I'm doing is I'm letting my ear locate the sound. I'm quickly analyzing everything about that sound and kind of letting my brain catalog it. And then I'm putting that sound back into the mix. And then my ears can much more easily follow it around the mix, hear how it balances against other things. But I'm just looking for that initial, like, oh, this is what it is. Okay, back in. Also, you see me rough out a lot of sections. I do this when I mix too, like when I do full long mixes. I won't try and get one section sounding amazing. I'll try and get one section in the ballpark real quick. And then I'll get the next section after it in the ballpark real quick. And then sometimes I'll set a loop from 2 bars before to 2 bars after the transition between those 2 sections, or 4 bars, or whatever gives you enough perspective. And then I start to work on how those 2 sections work together and how the transitions flow between the 2, and then start tightening up both sides of the mix. But you can't really do that until both sides are kind of cooperating and working together. So, you know, with the sprinting is kind of a speed up of how I start my mixes. I would say even 100 track plus mix, within the first half an hour, virtually everything is in the mix. Now, it doesn't sound balanced, you know, like the lead vocal will be in the mix, but I'll keep it really low so I can hear it and I can remind myself to leave room for it. so that it's, you know, it's not getting in the way of me hearing the rest of my mix as I'm working on the instrumentals, but it's always in there low. So I'm like, okay, make sure the piano is not in the way, make sure the guitars are not in the way. And but usually first half hour, doesn't matter the track count, everything is in. And then I might spend 7 or 8 or 10 more hours fine tuning little things. And that's just more slowing down and listening and taking your time and asking yourself, what does the song need? And letting the song tell you. And that's you know, I harp on this a lot, so I think it's worth saying again. I don't think in terms of math and frequencies and ratios and stuff like that. I never, ever think like that. I learned it. I did at one point, but then as soon as I got it under my belt and I knew it cold, I stopped thinking about it when I work. When I work, I turn the technical brain off as much as possible, and I try and just stay in vibe mode and try and stay in creative mode, mixing, producing, writing, anything. Okay, MBI on the chat roll asks, hey Ken, I want to know what was done to the guitars on Blur. They sounded harsh as a stem. Did they not? I don't know. Probably just EQ. Or just, I don't know, it was a mixed stem. So, I produced this song many years ago. So I'm not really sure what I did to it or what the end result was. But it doesn't really sound all that harsh in the mix. And if I had a longer time, I would probably carve out a little bit of that harshness in the mid-range to let the vocals sit a little bit better with it. But that's not something I could do in 10 minutes. Shadiq TV from the chat roll asks, hey Ken, do we need UAD plugins? What's your opinion? No, I don't think you need to spend money on any plugins. Hold, I take that back. All right, it's still early. It's probably going to be 3, 6, 8 months before this actually comes to fruition. But it's so in 2021, you know, we still do this show completely free. I don't make any money from it. We don't make any advertising money. I make $0 putting on the show, and we spend to put it on, and that's just not sustainable long term. So we had to figure out how do we pay for the show and keep it going like this, because we love doing the show. It's such a fucking blast. So we are going to put out a plugin, and I'm not going to tell you what it is yet, but obviously you'll hear it, you'll see me using it. All I can tell you is that we are all, me and Dominic and Lori, we've heard it, we've put it through its paces, we're super excited about it. It's early days, we got a lot of coding to do, but it's going to be fun. And I'm going to put out something really, really inexpensive, easy to use, and sounds amazing. So stay tuned for that. And I forget what your original question was, so I hope I answered it. I don't know. Okay, let me go to a little bit of Q&A. Let's see. I wanted to show. So, did you know you can tune a cello with auto-tune? You absolutely can. Bass guitar too. But I will solo this cello and put auto-tune on it, and I will show you. It's super, super easy. And you know, sometimes they need it a little bit, and it's, you know, people have a kind of a negative connotation of autotune. Let me tell you, autotune is the savior. I mean, yeah, it makes everything too samey and everything is way too in tune. I get why people don't like it as listeners, but it is the industry standard. Everything that you hear is in tune now, and if your shit ain't in tune, there better be some really magical reason why it's not. So, you know, if your cello is playing some beautiful melody in the hook, but that beautiful melody is pulling slightly out of tune, that's not a good look. So here we go. So you want to set your input type to bass instrument. And then usually I don't know what the key of this song is, but this is how I figure out the key of the song. I pull up my little piano scroll, and I listen to the song, and I play along until I figure out what key it's in. C major, A minor. Okay, so then I would put it in C major. It tracks better. I wouldn't say better. It tracks tighter if it's in the correct major or minor key as opposed to only chromatic. Because when you're in chromatic, it's looking at that whatever note is being sung, and it's trying to snap it to whatever the very, very closest note it is. And you don't want that. You want auto-tune to snap all of your notes into the correct key of your song. So I can't teach you keys of songs at this point, but they have like plugins like mixed in key and things like that. So figure out what the key of your song is. It could be a major or a minor, and then set this accordingly. Now, every time it sees a note, it's going to try and pull it to the closest note in the key. Not just the closest note, because that might be chromatic. It's going to try and pull it to the closest note in the key. So the scale really matters. This song happens to be in C major. If it was something else, I could also put this in A minor, which is the relative minor of C major for those people who know music. Same exact detection, same exact note selection. Again, I have bass instrument. If this was a vocal, I would have it on one of these three, self-explanatory. If it was a violin, I would probably have it on this instrument. Retune speed, and let's just listen to what it does. You hear it's getting stuck on that last little bah, but it's pulling it better into tune than probably what's there. Let's hear it. Interesting. Let's see if a different detector fixes that. What just happened? Alright, turns out this likes instrument better than bass instrument, which makes sense. He's playing pretty high on the cello, so it is a bass instrument, but it's still a mid-range melody. I don't know what's happening. Maybe that detector just doesn't like it. Alright, I'm not going to spend time with this. You get it. Alright, well. Come on, Ken. I'm confused and I'm going to stop. Sorry. I thought that was C major. Maybe I didn't get the right detector. Anyway, trust me on that. You actually can auto-tune. Let's go to X on the track from the chat roll. Hey Ken, how do you approach programmed 808 drums, and do you parallel drums and vocals? Programmed 808 drums, it depends on, it's always sound dependent. Sometimes you just leave 808s alone and turn them up. Like the best sampled ones, like the guys who really have their 808 game like on point, have their collections really, really dialed in. So sometimes it's just a fader level. Sometimes it's, you know, if you have a long sustained 808 and you really want to make that shit rumble, you know, you need something. I actually would typically compress it similar to the way I'd compress a vocal, if I want to lengthen out that sustain, or I could limit it. Let's see. Where's my other questions? All right. Alex, these are all pre-submitted questions. Alex asks, hey Ken, what makes you say you have the weirdest resume in the music industry? Well, Alex, I'll show you I have a new website, kenlewis.com. Finally got my surname. That was a bitch to get, expensive. I have the weirdest resume in the music industry because I have played so many different roles at a very high level for so many different genres of artists. So I have Grammy credits as a producer, mixer, songwriter, arranger, and like recording engineer, multi-instrumentalist on a bunch of different instruments, vocals, and gold and platinum on all of those, but also across you know, pop, urban, R&B, EDM, gospel, yeah, gospel. I mean, it's, where is it? Oh, come on, I'll find it anyway. So anyway, the range of experience that I've gotten is, I think, one of the reasons that makes Mixing Night so good, because I can really tackle any subject, from mixing to production to songwriting to artist development, and speak to you very from experience, and from having done exactly what I'm showing you. And basically anything I ever show you guys on mixing night or at Audio School Online is something that I do and that I have used on records that you have probably heard. So I don't ever put out things that I don't use. I don't show you stuff I don't do. So, all right. Jay asks, hey Ken, what's the best way to start producing local artists? I would say start producing your friends. Find a friend who wants to be an artist and just have fun for a while and get your feet wet and figure out the process and figure out how to work with, and vibe with another artist and get used to it. And just, and I'll tell you the other thing, every artist and every writer and every other creative kind of works slightly differently. So some people you're going to click really well with and you're going to be able to produce really well. Some people, even if you love their music, you just won't click and it just is not the right thing. And one of the toughest things to understand about the music industry is not every opportunity is for you. And that will sink in more and more the longer that you're in the music industry. Not every opportunity is for you. You're going for that major label placement or that sync placement or that, you want to hit 1 million streams or whatever your goal is, and somebody else gets there and somebody else, somebody else gets that sync placement. Not everything is for you. You probably weren't going to get that thing anyway, but there's something down the road that you're going to get. And going through the process, putting yourself out there over and over and over, taking your shots as smartly and as best you can, and learning from both your successes and your failures and adjusting your approach. Always be cognizant of adjusting your approach when you feel like something is or isn't working. And latch onto that. It's always important in anything that you do, especially in the music industry. Okay. Rodriguez asks, a while ago you had a course named Optimus Prime Audio, but I can't find it on your website anymore. Does it still exist? Yes, it still exists, and I have great news for you. I made it free. So I have a free section on Audio School Online, and I put a couple of the older but still very valuable, very relevant tutorials up in my free section. The plugin transformers is a really cool way to show some of the outer ranges of what plugins can do. Mixing for mixtapes is how to mix vocals to a 2-track, really powerful. Amp sims, tons of gems in there. So if you guys need some free content during the apocalypse when we're shut down, check out the free section at Audio School Online. Okay, Thomas asks, hey Ken, I think I heard you say in one of your videos you don't use parallel processing. I wondered if you could expand on that as to why. So the only parallel processing that I usually do is when plugins, let me pull something up. Come on, there it is. So here's the monster, one of my faves. Love this thing. Okay, the monster is a really severe compressor. But it also has a mix knob, a wet-dry knob, and this is basically the exact same thing as parallel processing. It's just done with one knob. You don't have to copy it and bring it up on another fader and balance them out. It's all done right here. So in that regard, sometimes when I'm grabbing compressors nowadays that have the wet-dry balance, I will check and I'll adjust sometimes and see. I think like the Slate Distressor has a wet-dry balance as well. So sometimes you can get cool parallel processing right on the plugin itself, but I don't really ever take the time to parallel stuff on the channels unless it's for a really specific reason. Say my kick drum has a long decay but not much attack and I need it to really hit hard. I'm going to parallel that, and I'm going to gate so that I can only have the attack on one channel and the decay on the other. And I'm going to tailor the attack to really thump and the decay to go as long as I want and then cut right off. So that might be another reason that I would parallel. But the normal way most people parallel, I'm not slagging it. I just don't do it much. I've never really felt the need. And the follow-up question was, how do you get your mixes so loud without parallel processing? It's really the secret sauce to getting really loud mixes that are still clear and powerful and not distorted with heavy bass and clear highs and everything is great balancing and carving and making everything find its own spaces to live in during the mix and having everything really well balanced so everything is well represented but not pushing a lot of energy where it doesn't need to push. And if you can find your way, I know that's a really esoteric explanation, but I mean, but that's basically kind of, you get it, all the most important frequencies represented well, and then you can really push that forward as hard as you want. And if you're not getting the volume out of it that you want, then it's always a trade-off between how loud your 808s and kicks are hitting and how loud you want your overall perception of your mix to be. Those two, that's the balancing act right there. More bass, less perception, less bass, more perception. But there's a balance because you want that heavy bass rumbling, but you also don't want your mix to sound really, really quiet with the room fucking shaking. So, all right. What time is it? 8:38. Yeah, I can do a little bit more Q&A. I'm going to show that compression. That's really cool. Okay. Jod asks, hey Ken, how did you get over the hump of understanding attack and release in terms of compression? Okay, how did you get over understanding attack and release in terms of compression? All right, I'm going to show you guys, I'm going to give you a basic demonstration that hopefully is going to kind of really clear up how attack and release work in the real world. In a way that you can hear it. And I'm going to use the Distressor because it's such a it's fast or slow. It's whatever you want it to be. This is like the Swiss Army knife of compressor. So it's a good one to do this with. So I've started, let me bypass this. I've started with just the solo snare. I think it's probably even just the top. Oh yeah, no. Top and bottom snare mic combined. I have a little bit of EQ on it. Okay. And so it's basically no compression going on right now. I have 1-to-1 ratio set up, so it's basically feeding out what I'm feeding in. I'm going to jack it up to 6-to-1. Now I have a medium attack and a very fast release. So what I'm expecting to happen is a little bit of the leading edge of that stick when it hits the snare drum. The moment it hits, that's going to get right past that attack detector before the detector can clamp down on it. And right about the time it's finishing up its attack, the attack detector is going to grab hold of it, and then the release is going to say, okay, now release. So let's see what that sounds like. You hear how it's still got a fair amount of attack to it, but it's got a lot of sustain to it. And what a fast release does usually is gives you more sustain because it's tracking more closely. It's taking that dynamic range and it's saying, no matter what, you're going to be right here. And that's basically what it's doing with your signal when you have a super fast attack and release and a decent compression ratio. So let me slow down the attack so you can hear what a slow attack fast release sounds like. Virtually the entire attack is getting through before the compressor even detects it and grabs hold of it. Now listen to the fastest attack. This is 0 attack time. Okay, so you can hear the difference between fastest and slowest attack. Slowest lets virtually that entire stick through before it then grabs hold of it. Medium attack is somewhere in between. It lets a little bit of the transient through, but it's going to control it a little bit more and ride that wave a little bit. Now, why would you want a slower release? So the fast release tends to make everything sustain more. So basically you're letting it get back to normal level as fast as possible with a fast release. But a slow release, listen to what a fast attack slow release does. I'll start with a fast release so you can hear it, and then listen to what it does when it starts slowing down. Okay, and we're still fastest attack, so I'm getting rid of all of my transient. But let me put a little bit of that transient back in. Let me put half the transient back in, about medium attack. And then I'll do this same exact thing, and you'll hear a completely different snare drum come out. Now listen to the difference. Remember what you just heard. No attack whatsoever. It just was, you know, clipped right off. Sorry, I'm doing attack. Here, I've got a slow release, medium slow, 6.5. I've got a medium attack, medium to slow attack. And what you're hearing is all of that stick is coming through, but you're hearing almost none of the sustain of the drum at all. If I put this back in the mix, it's just going to sound like, and that's how you get really tight snare drums without that ring if you can't gate it. So listen to this in the mix. Hear how it kind of hits and dies? Now listen to fast release. And there is no wrong answer here. The answer is that any of these settings works on a snare or anything else, depending upon what you are going for sonically. So, you know, a fast attack is going to lop off the transient of your snare, but it might, a fast attack and fast release is going to allow you to have more sustain on your snare drum. So everything is in a balance. So let me just see if I can get a good fast attack, fast release going that gives you... That's not bad. So I'm getting about 60 dB of reduction with a super fast attack release. And what that's doing is it's just, you know, the spike is a huge spike before it starts sustaining. So what I'm doing is if the spike is up to here, I'm cutting it about right here. And I'm just saying, okay, now you're going to do this. And it just allows a little bit of that transient in and then holds it tight. Okay. Let's see. What is next on The Price is Right? I think we should go to Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night Man of Mystery. So the last show was the income episode, and I broke down income streams for artists, producers, and engineers, what they are, where they come from, who collects them, and how you get them. So if you missed that episode, it's restreaming on this YouTube channel, so go check it out. But we talked a lot in that episode about distribution itself, what it is, who collects it, all that stuff. So now Marcus is going to break down a bunch of the actual different distributors, who they are, what they do, that kind of thing. So here comes Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night Man of Mystery.
What's good? This is Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night Man of Mystery, with another Mixing Night Man of Mystery moment from an undisclosed location. Actually, I am at work here at National Geographic in Washington, D.C. Today is going to be all about distribution. I'm just going to share names and websites, and you can go in and do your research. The first one we will start with is a free way to distribute your music. It's from amuse.io. Here it is right here. You see the website. Amuse, definitely check them out. Do your research there. Next, we have Awhile by Cobalt Music. You can definitely check out their website, awhile.com. Look into their distribution platform. Next, we have BeatStars. Those of you may know, some of you may know BeatStars as a beat selling place, but they also have distribution. So you can distribute your beats and songs there. That's a new platform on their website. Then there is Caroline. Again, check out the website, caroline.com, to look into how they distribute songs and what their terms and conditions are. Next, we have CD Baby, not a new company, but CD Baby music distribution up there at the top left. Choose that option, and you can look more into how they distribute music and where they distribute their music to. Next, we have DistroKid. Another one of the leaders in the pack, DistroKid, where you can upload your music to a bunch of different websites and social media and earn money on that, and you can make splits with other people. Then we have Ditto Music. Ditto Music is another website, dittomusic.com. You see that for $19 a year. You keep all your royalties. You can share to different outlets, release your music on all these platforms here, so definitely check them out if you're interested. And then we have Fresh Tunes. Again, you can sign up to be if you're a musician or producer, sign up with Fresh Tunes and have your tracks distributed on a number of platforms. Some of them are listed here. And then next we have Horus Music. I was going to say ours, but Horus Music, where you can have your music distributed again. A lot of them are doing the same things, but the terms and conditions and fees and prices may vary. So check out Horus Music. Then we have Hard Drive, HRDRV.com, the world's most artist-friendly record label. Definitely check them out. You can hit enter and then see what services they offer for distribution. Then we have Lander, which you may remember from some previous Mixing Night Man of Mystery moments, but Lander also has distribution. So next to mastering up top there, they have distribution. You can look more into where they distribute to and how they do that. Then we have Octave, OCTIIVE.com, where you can stay independent. They have flexible packages. Then we have 1RPM. Brave new digital world. You should make the most out of it. Again, they have some stats there. Look into how you can distribute with 1rpm.com. Reverb Nation, also not a new member in this field, but Reverb Nation will show you how you can use some of these platforms to be a DIY artist, and you can share your music through Reverb Nation onto these different platforms. Route Note, or Root Note, depending on how you where you're from, will distribute your music to these platforms, and then over 50 of these digital platforms. So definitely check them out, rootnote.com or routenote.com. Getting towards the end here, we have sounddrop.com. You can sign up for free and then find out how they distribute your music to these different platforms and social media. Then you have stem.is, where you can distribute your music, and then you can get infographics and data on how your music is doing. And then you have symphonic distribution.com. They claim to redefine distributing your music. So definitely check them out. You can apply. I don't know if there's an approval process, but definitely look into that if you're interested. Then we have TuneCore, another not newcomer. You see Russ there, who is sort of the TuneCore spokesperson for TuneCore, but definitely check them out. Final two here, United Masters. Check them out. Record label in your pocket. They do have an app where I think you can upload your music to and distribute, but definitely check them out and their terms and conditions. And then finally, Vidya.com. Check them out. You see some artists there and some of their distribution terms and conditions. So definitely check all these out. There are a lot more out there. This is just a sample of what's out there. Do your research. Check out what's out there. This has been Marcus Manderson with another Mixing Night Man of Mystery moment, and I will see you next time. All right, everyone, stay safe and be well. All right, peace.
Marcus Manderson, always bringing the noise. Thank you, Marcus. Always appreciated. Let me get that off the screen. Let's see. Maybe back to a little bit of Q&A before we go to ear training and microphones. Oh, the microphones. Let's see. Blake asks, hey Ken, how does one go about hiring you? Well, that would be nice, Blake. I showed my website earlier, kenlewis.com. So you can go to kenlewis.com and contact me there, or my mixing site is iproducemusic.com. You can get there from kenlewis.com as well. So, and my email is ken@kenlewis.com. So that's where I do my business. Please keep it professional and don't spam me. I appreciate it. Let's see. What else is next on the... Ooh, I'm going to show that later. That's good. Okay. Okay. Well, maybe I'll go to the chat roll. How do you explain mixing? Okay, Alexander Smeltzer asks, hey Ken, how would you explain mixing compared to mastering? Okay, so mixing, you start mixing when all of your recording and creative ideas are out and recorded and organized well. Produced. That's production. That's production and songwriting, basically. So you write your song, you record it, you get everything sounding the way you want, everything is in its right place, and then you either mix it or you hand it off to a mix engineer, and they take all of those individual sounds and they blend them all together to come out one stereo pair of speakers or headphones or whatever it is and sound like a finished record. So that's what mixing is. Mixing is taking all of those individual elements and blending them together into a 2-track stereo mix. Mastering is when the mix engineer hands that 2-track off to a mastering engineer and they take that already mixed stereo mix and they do their mastering voodoo shit. I don't know how and it comes back and it sounds a little bit better. Or if, depending on how you mix. I mix to mastered, so my mixes already sound mastered when I'm done. But, one of the GOATs, like a Chris Geringer, Chris Athens, one of those guys can definitely master my finished mixes better than I can. But anyway, hope that helps. Let's see. Roscoe asks, hey Ken, what's your process to give MIDI instruments a more real human feel? Great question, Roscoe. MIDI instruments, especially nowadays, I think there is no excuse to not have great sounds because Splice is nearly free. There's just tons of really great sounds out there that are free or nearly free. On the Mixing Night Discord channel, Marcus Manderson, Mixing Night Man of Mystery, posts a thread of free everything, free plugins, free sound sets. It is a wealth of not only free stuff, because sometimes free stuff is like, I wish I didn't install that. Marcus finds really great shit that you're like, oh, I'm really glad I found that. So, somebody asked earlier, do you need UAD and that kind of stuff? No, I don't think that you do. If you're a pro, yeah, I'd be rocking with UAD. If you're a pro making money mixing records, I would definitely be rocking with UAD. To me, they're the pinnacle. But they're far from the only company I use, and I love a bunch of plugins. And I think your free selections early on are really fantastic. Don't feel the need to spend money until you're starting to make money, or until you genuinely want to put yourself in the position of making money and can. That's when you start spending that kind of stuff. Okay. Let me go to the chat roll. Dynasty on the Mix asks, hey Ken, do you like the UAD Distressor more or the Slate FG Stress more? I think the UAD Distressor is probably my favorite distressor, followed by the Arouser, which is Empirical Labs makes the hardware distressor. We gave one of those away on Mixing Night maybe 6 months ago, by the way. Hey Mazzy, I don't know if you guys can see Mazzy. She would really like a treat right now. The Arouser is the Empirical Labs version plugin of the distressor, and the cool thing about the Arouser is they added a variable distortion section on the output, so it's distressor with a real distorter on it that's really badass. And their Big Freak EQ has the same thing. It's got the finisher on it, and that's just a saturator, so really convenient to have in a plugin. I bet you guys want to know what kind of plugin I'm going to design. You're going to love it, trust me. It's going to be awesome. Okay, so Bobby G asks, I really liked your submission for the contest, Bobby, by the way. Bobby G asks, hey Ken, when you print finals for an artist, do you also print an instrumental, radio edit, live version? What versions do you print? Okay, so Bobby, when a client approves a final mix, like I just said, I mix to mastered, so my mix is going to be loud as fuck. I give the mastering engineer no room to work. So I print a main pass, and then I print an uncompressed main pass with my final stage limiter removed so that the mastering engineer has room to work. And the mastering engineer should get the main pass and the uncompressed main pass, because I want them to hear what the client approved and then work from the uncompressed to hopefully beat it, or at least not fuck it up. That's basically what I do. The other passes that I always provide are TV track. TV track is a mix minus lead vocal. So sometimes I'll leave ad-libs in, sometimes I'll take ad-libs out, but typically anything that the lead vocalist can sing live is removed in a TV track. And that's so that they can sing live, either on stage or on TV or on live stream or whatever it is. So that's the TV track. Instrumental is just all music, no vocals. And a cappella is all vocals, no instruments. And each of those TV track, instrumental, a cappella, I usually also provide those compressed and uncompressed, so that if they want to master the instrumental, TV, and a cappella, they can. Not everybody does. You certainly don't need to. You certainly don't need to master my instrumentals and acapellas. They're already mastered. But, you know, if it's a national project, you might want to do that. Let's see. That's a funny question. Flying Space Whale asks, do you have any tips for masked singers? Tips for mixing vocals for masked singers. Gee, Flying Space Whale. I love that name. You know, make sure they're unmasked while you're recording them, and disinfect the room after they're gone. And people, mask up out there. Come on, COVID is... If you're in America and you're walking outside around other people without a mask, you're fucking crazy. Shit is dangerous. Still, I'm hoping I get vaccinated in a week or two. It should have already been, but rollouts have been pretty slow here. Okay, it's 9 o'clock. What was I going to go to at 9 o'clock? I'm going to go to microphones. I haven't really covered microphones in a while. And anybody live on the chat roll, if you have microphone questions, fire away and let Dominic feed them to me. But I know a lot of you out there have questions about all of these different types of microphones. Pay attention, grab your notes. I'm going to give you a real quick crash course. First microphone is a ribbon microphone. This thing right here, the Cascade Fathead 2 in front of me, is a ribbon microphone. Now, the characteristics of a ribbon microphone are a figure 8 pattern. And so if you see that thing that looks like a figure 8 on a microphone, what that means is it hears towards me and away from me at equal volume. It hears, so watch what I do. I'm going to just talk around this all the way to the back, listen to how I disappear, and then come back. So if I'm talking, I'm probably getting pretty hard to hear right now. Just ambient talking. I'm probably coming back now that I'm talking into the back of the microphone. Now I'm going back to the side, and you're probably losing me again and talking, and now I'm back to present. So that's the figure 8 pattern. Hopefully I didn't look too terribly ridiculous doing that. Here's another thing to notice about all microphones. What is it called? Oh, God. Total brain fart right now. What is it when you get too close to the mic? So listen to how much more low end my voice has. No, not the sibilants. Listen to how much more presence and low end my voice has when it's close to the microphone, the depth, the deepness of it, as opposed to talking exactly the same right here. You hear all of the mid-range clearly, but it doesn't have that deep presence and that real closeness to it that it has when I'm right here. And that's, I can't remember. Oh my God, my brain is just not working. I'm even sober right now. I can't even fucking, it'll come to me. Anyway, okay. So that's a figure 8. Next we're going to go to, this is a Shure Beta SM57. Very, very common microphone for live performance in the studios. You see them all over the place. So I'm going to switch. Now I'm on the Beta 57. So the Beta 57 is a hypercardioid microphone. And what that means is it hears in a tight pattern in front of it, but it also, because it hears in a real tight pattern in front of it, it has a little bubble in back where it also hears some things. So it doesn't quite reject what's behind it as well as a cardioid microphone does, but it focuses its pattern forward much tighter than a normal cardioid does. So, for instance, I don't know if you'll be able to hear this, but if this is a hypercardioid plugin or a hypercardioid microphone pattern, you're probably starting to lose it about right here, and hopefully it's pretty gone by right here. Sweetie, why don't you let the dog outside while I'm showing microphones? You can pretty much stay on this front camera. I think Mazzy is telling us she needs to go out. So, all right, Mazzy, we'll get you taken care of. That's closest to dadhood that I'm ever going to get. So, all right, so here's hypercardioid. This here's out like this. So if I'm talking, I'm starting to lose it here, and by now it's practically gone, and I'm really only hearing the room back here. There should be a little bump, but hypercardioids reject from the back pretty well. So, you know, this is like a good choice for snare drums and things like that. Now, if this was a cardioid, just a regular SM57, not a Beta 57, it would just be, you know, if the pattern here is maybe out to like, I think you can see that, out to like here. The cardioid would hear out to about here. So it's more of like everything in front of you as opposed to only like immediately in front of you is more of a hypercardioid pattern. So, and let me switch back to my figure 8 on the, okay. Next microphone is a large diaphragm condenser. Okay, one of these. Here's a couple tricks with a large diaphragm condenser because a lot of people don't know where to sing into it. And most of the time, a large diaphragm condenser is going to have the emblem. See the emblem right there? The GT emblem on this. This is a Groove Tubes GT55. It's going to have the emblem on the front of the mic where you sing into the capsule. So if you're singing into this side of the mic and there's no emblem, you're singing into the back of the microphone. You got to be real careful about that. And almost any mic that looks like this is not going to hear this way. It's going to hear this way. And with this particular mic, I don't know if you can see this, it's got a little cardioid pattern right on the front of it. It kind of just looks like a mushroom. Yeah, let's see if you can see that. So this is a large diaphragm condenser. It needs phantom power, which is usually on any mic pre or any channel. Usually large diaphragm condensers, this is a cardioid. It could be omni, a large diaphragm condenser. Depending on the microphone, they don't all. This one only hears in front of it cardioid. Some large diaphragm condensers will hear in figure 8 out of front and back equally, and some of them will hear in omni all the way around 360, and it's usually selectable. You can so it depends on you know, if you're buying an expensive microphone, make sure you're getting one that tackles all of the needs that you or your studio may require. And you can also see on this one it's got a pad and a low frequency roll off. So the low frequency roll off, if I'm recording a vocalist, there's nothing under like 80 hertz. So this thing just automatically gets rid of that. If I'm recording a low frequency instrument with this, then I definitely don't want to have the roll off on. Now large diaphragms, usually vocals, you know, that's the number one thing. I'll put large diaphragms on pianos, on acoustic guitars, on any kind of a real instrument, anything that you want to really capture vividly. Now, small diaphragm condenser mics can do all of the same things. I don't think they can do figure 8, but they can do, this is an AKG 451. This is a small diaphragm condenser mic. They tend to be a little bit brighter, a little bit more detailed because the diaphragm on the microphone can react a little bit faster than the larger diaphragms can, so you can get a little bit crisper on like the hi-hats and cymbals and things like that. It's a favorite microphone of those types of instruments, ride cymbals and tambourines and things like that. great on acoustic guitars and anything that you really want to capture a beautiful high end without too much bottom. These carry an even bottom, but they won't carry a nice rich bottom like the large diaphragm condensers will. Now, a microphone like this, you can take the capsule of it right off. You can unscrew these screws. This has got a cardioid capsule, but you can switch capsules on this and put an omni capsule right on it, or a hypercardioid capsule right on it, and change the characteristics of the whole microphone. So you might get one microphone that does like 4 different things just with different capsules. And I don't have one to show. I wish I did. All the rage now is those modeling microphones, like the Slate VSL, the Slate one. Everybody knows it. And UAD has one. The Sphere, I can't remember what it's called, but and I hear rave reviews about both of those microphones. I have heard from people that I really trust that both of those microphones are exceptionally good for the price range. So I think I could recommend either of those. But the great thing is about those is that you get to hear different response curves on your voice. And something like a Sony C800G in real life, everybody sounds good on the C800G. You put a $10,000 microphone in front of somebody, it's always going to sound good. But you put a $1,000 microphone in front of somebody, it's not always going to sound good. But if you have a $1,000 modeling microphone, it's going to give you, snapshot A. Nah, snapshot B. Oh, better. Snapshot C. Oh, that's the one. That sounds incredible. And it's just modeling different curves of different microphones. So, I think that new technology is really catching hold in a way that is super useful for people right now. Let's see. What else do I want to cover? Oh, here's a little, in case nobody has seen one of these. It's a lavalier mic, or a lav mic, L-A-V, lavalier. And it just comes with a little clip. These are broadcast mics. You put them up and you clip them to your thing during interviews and things like that. So that's what a lavalier mic is. I don't really use this in the studio for anything other than miking people up for interviews. But that, they can be wireless or they can be wired. Then we have a cardioid, same as the Beta 57, only it's just a little bit wider. Polar pattern. This is a drum one, so you can get really tight in on drum things. I wouldn't use this on anything but drums, really. Maybe guitar cameras would be fine. Let's see. What else can I tell you about microphones? What else did I want to tell you about microphones? That's what it is. Proximity effect. That's what I was showing you earlier. The proximity effect is when I talk into a microphone and the bass level comes up in the microphone and it gets richer just because I'm close to the mic, and as I go away it thins out a little bit. That's proximity effect. That happens on all microphones. So when you're recording a lead vocal, you want to have the vocalist close enough that you're getting some proximity effect, some of that natural warmth that the closeness of the singer to the diaphragm gives you, but you don't want to have the singer so into it that it's just distorted or too bassy or, overworking itself. So you want to find, usually I find about a 4 to 6 inches away from the mic with the C800 is where I'll put my pop filter screen. And then I don't mind if the singer's right up on that pop filter. That gives them a bit of proximity effect without a lot of it. And the microphone like the C800G can take, Scrizzly Adams can scream into that thing and it just says, what? Give me more. Microphone. If there's any questions about microphones, hit me on the chat roll. And I think I'm going to go to, let me do a little bit more Q&A, and then I'm going to go to ear training in just 2 or 3 minutes. Okay. Oh, I didn't do this one. Roscoe asks, hey Ken, what's your process to give MIDI instruments a more real human feel? For me, it's 3 things, mostly. It's sound selection, picking the right sounds. 2, saturation. Usually, if your sound is a little bit too clean, a little bit too pretty, a little bit of saturation, not distortion. Saturation, which is kind of distortion before it actually sounds like distortion. And then also randomization of the note playing itself. So if I want it to feel more human, I'm not going to quantize it, or I'm going to quantize it loosely so that it's not always doing the exact same thing in the exact same way every single time. Humans don't do that, and if you want to mimic them, you got to do what humans do. I'm really, really good at making things that aren't samples sound like samples, and these are a lot of the techniques that I use. Saturation, filtering, like you can kind of filter out the low end on a thing and drive it with some saturation, and sometimes that'll give you a nice gritty old school feel. Roll a little bit off the top. Yeah, try those things. 38 Zips on the chat roll asks, hey Ken, have you ever tested a mic with the Kaotica Eyeball? No. Haven't. No reason to. And I don't know. I hear mixed reviews on those things. It might be great. I really can't speak on it. Let's see. Eric asks, hey Ken, what are a few good ways, aside from word of mouth, that is the best way, Eric, what are a few good ways to get your name out to larger artists to offer mixing and engineering services? Eric, the best way is to go work for a bigger studio that those artists go to and work at. That's what I did. That's what most people do before they go freelance, because you need to get credits somehow. I mean, you're never, ever, 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 ever going to convince somebody how good you are by telling them. And most of the time in the music industry, it's a real show me. They want to see that you've done it for somebody else before they're going to let you, which is a little bit of a catch-22. So you got to build up your credits and your experience over time. Going to work for another studio is a great way to do that. I came up in New York City working at a big studio, did that for 2.5, 3 years, got a bunch of credits, got a few platinum records, and then I went freelance with a few platinum records. Then I went freelance. And that was after 3 years of virtually every single day, either in a recording or mixing session as either the engineer or the assistant. And so, you know, when you're going for gigs, there's other guys who are going through that process now that you're competing with. And you just have to understand where the bar is set for guys like that. It's, you know, that's how, to me, that's how you know, either you come up with a crew that is hitting and everybody in the crew eats and you do well, and, you know, or you go work for a big studio or a big artist, you know, a big somebody. You go work for somebody else who's much better at it than you are, and you learn and you start getting credits, and that's how you do it. Okay. Litrabu asks, hey Ken, how do you start making money through music during COVID? Litrabu, check out the last episode, the income episode. It's streaming on this channel. It was February 3rd. The income episode, I broke down income streams for artists, producers, and mixers. Deep. You'll like it. That's going to show you where all the money is and how to collect it and who collects it and who pays it out. Let's see. I'm going to go to ear training. It is time. Grab your sheets, everybody. So if you don't have your ear training worksheet yet, it is in the description on the YouTube channel that you are watching right now. And while you're there, like and subscribe, set your alerts so that it automatically tells you when the next episode is so that you don't forget it. And you can join us for the next mixing night, which we would love. So this ear training is phase coherency. So I'm going to play you a sound twice. And one of those sounds is more in phase, and one of those sounds is less in phase. And you've got to tell me which is which. So when we get to number 3, it's going to switch up, and I'll explain it when we get to number 3. But the first 2 are stereo clips, and you have to tell me which one is more in phase and which one is less in phase. Get your worksheets ready. All right, number 1, here we go. All right, number 2. You getting the hang of this yet? How'd you do on the first two? Okay, here's number 3. Now, the first 2 were stereo files. Number 3 is a mono file. What I've done is I've combined an 808 and a kick drum, which have a phase relationship to them. And I flipped, one example has the phase inverted on the kick, and you have to tell me which one is more in phase and which one is less in phase. And I'll tell you after we're done how you know. Here's number 3A. Oh. Three B. All right, number 4, back to stereo.
Now would you break before you twist the knife? Yeah, would you take my hand and take a life? I'm too damn young to give up on the light. Now would you break before
4B.
you twist the knife? Yeah, would you take my hand and take a life? I'm too damn young to give up on the light.
5. Five B. Six A. Okay, here's another one. Number 6 is 2 kick drums, 2 one-shot kicks layered on top of each other. There's always a phase relationship whenever you have different kick one-shots hitting together. And one of these examples is phase reversed with one of the kicks and the other isn't. And one of them is more in phase and one of them is less in phase. And you tell me which it is. All right, I'm going to go through these all one more time for you.
Too close to find.
7B. Love some Scrizzly Adams. 8. B. Nine. Nine B. Last one, number 10. go through them, and I'm going to tell you after the selection plays which one was the in phase or more in phase one. Here's number one more time, and I'll tell you when it's done. This one is more in phase. Okay, so let's address that. For people who don't understand exactly what phase is, when you're hearing this, when you're hearing the out of phase one, this is drum loop is completely 100% out of phase, 180 degrees or 90 degrees, I don't, whatever the fuck it is. And so that spreads it out really, really wide, but it also, so there's a few things that happen when you completely invert the phase of a signal. It spreads it out really wide, and it sounds like it's outside of the speakers. And it also usually gets rid of a lot of your low frequency content, or reduces a lot of your low frequency content, because the frequencies are, the waveforms are bigger in the low end, and it's easier for them to cancel each other out. So those are the two main things that you're listening for: is less low end, and if it's really, really wide. Those two things are phase, you know, out of phase tells. So one more time on this so you can hear what I'm talking about. And you see how that's really centered in the middle and sounds and feels like a real instrument. When things are out of phase, it also makes you kind of want to do this and bark like a dog. You know, it's just too much phase is unsettling, so be careful how you use it. All right, here's 2A and 2B. Which one is more in phase? Two B. 2A was more in phase, 2B was out of phase. You can hear that real, you can hear the tubas just kind of completely went away. Listen to all that rich low end is just gone. It's all canceled out. Okay, number 3. A is more in phase. So 3A is more in phase. Now, when you're layering two sounds that hit at the same time on top of each other, you got to check the phase relationship. And that's what's happening here with the kick and the 808. They're both hitting at the exact same moment, and that transient, one is canceling the other out sometimes. And you hear more in phase on A than B, and what happens is that low end is just a little bit lighter. So if you've got your subs on and you're really turned up, you can feel that. All right, 4A. Now would you break before you twist the knife? Yeah, would you take my hand and take a life? I'm too damn young to give up on the light. And 4B. Now would you break before you twist the knife? Yeah, would you take my hand and take a life? I'm too damn young. Okay, 4B is more in phase. So this is kind of interesting. If you listen to 4A, it doesn't necessarily sound bad. It's kind of like if you remember those stereo units or those boom boxes with the stereo enhance button, that's kind of what sounds like here. It's a little bit wider than the speakers, but you can still pretty much hear everything. It sounds bigger than it probably should and a little bit less coherent than you want it to, but you can still pretty much tell what it is. Now would you break before you twist the knife? Yeah, would you before you twist the knife? Yeah, would you? Yeah, that's not fully out of phase. That first example was maybe just a few percent out of phase, like 20%. Okay, 5. 5A is more in phase. 5B is more out of phase. We'll go to 6. These are 2 kicks on top of each other. Which one cancels out less? All right, 6B is more in phase. You can feel more of the weight of that kick. That's how you know. These are 2 one-shots on top of each other, and they always have a phase relationship. That's something that most people completely forget how to check, or that you even should check it. But whenever you have 2 kick one-shots, 2 snare one-shots, anything that's hitting at the same time, you always want to check the phase relationship, because, and it's not necessarily this one is right and this one is wrong. Sometimes it's just a slightly better and slightly worse, and you just got to be like, all right, slightly better, oh, okay, that gives me 5% better. That's a good starting point. Okay, number 7. 7B. 7B is more in phase. 7A is slightly more out of phase. It's just a little bit of, it's that width knob. You know, the MS EQs or any of those stereo spreaders with the width knob. This is too wide. A is too wide. It's still pretty coherent, but it's just a little bit out there going, nah. You know, I want you got to remember that the listener just wants to relax and enjoy it. So if the listener is a little bit thrown by how wide it is and it feels like it's in the stratosphere, that might not be a good look for you. Okay, 8. Let's see. B. That is way out of phase. So 8A is in phase, 8B is out of phase. Hear what I mean about it kind of makes you feel like you want to turn your head and bark like a dog? That's when things are getting out of phase or really out of phase. That's what it feels like. So dial into that feeling. Okay, 9. 9B. 9A is definitely more in phase. You can feel it. That left-right motion is so much more pronounced with the phase pulled out, which, you know, might work in a mix with an individual instrument, just not a whole mix. A lot of times when I'm mixing, I will take one, usually like a dark pad or something that's not a main driver of the sound, but kind of already is spread out kind of wide and paddy, and I'll take that and I'll put that way outside of the speakers, and I'll kind of tuck it back so that the listener gets this sense that there is this width happening, but everything else is really coherent, so they don't have the barking dog effect, but they have the stereo spread happening, and then I can just do a little bit of spreading on my mix bus, and then I get all of the kind of stereo field that I want. So that's kind of how I put things outside of the speakers without making my entire mix out of phase. Okay, number 10. I mean, you got to hear this. 10A is out of phase. All the low end is gone. It's spread way, way out. It's really, really bright. NB. This is in phase. All right, how did you do? I'm going to put up the full answer key just for a moment so you guys can see it. Hopefully you all got A pluses on this. Yeah, you know, phase is just one of those weird things that a lot of people just don't really have a good handle on it, don't know what it is, and have no idea how much it can change the perception of what you're mixing. And just, you know, like if I'm mixing a full live drum kit, I'm going through and checking the phase of everything and just trying to, and not necessarily correcting the phase, but seeing what the best phase lineup is, if it helps me or if it doesn't. Sometimes it doesn't. Okay. On the chat roll, Mish Khalil asks, hey Ken, are there any strategies to find an optimal microphone position in a given room, specifically for recording vocals? Probably not really close to any walls, because you'll get proximity effect off of the wall. You'll get like a really, really close reflection off the wall or the window or something. So you kind of, you know, you want to keep it away from walls if you can, but you also want to make sure that you have a really dead environment recording vocals. No reflections, no ambiences going on. It should be a really dead room. The deader, the better. And then you add ambience after the fact. But if you want a really nice, present, in-your-face vocal that's just clear and beautiful, you got to get that in a really dead room. Otherwise, you're going to hear all of the room ambience come out, especially as you compress a vocal more. The sibilance comes out more, and the room ambience comes out more. So if you record it in a quiet room with no room ambience, you're fine. If you record it in a, you know, a bathroom with you know, a bit of reflection to it, then when you start compressing that vocal, all of that reflection is going to become really, really loud. And so word to the wise. Okay. Hope you did great on ear training. Let's see what is next. I'm going to go to the mixing contest. Had a ton of really great entries. We got Arturia sponsoring this beat challenge, not beat challenge. This is a creative mixing challenge, Ken. This is a creative mixing challenge. The challenge here was I gave you guys a verse and a chorus of the song that I opened the show sprint mixing, Blur by Skidmore Fountain. And I asked you to put a creative mix and take it in a different direction than I took it. Anything that you want. Could be rearranging the stems, could just be mixing what I give you in a different lane than what my original mix was. So you guys ran the gamut on this thing. We had a ton of really, really great entries. It was so hard judging this thing. I mean, you know, the top 10 should have been the top 20. There was easily 10 more that I could have put in there that were, you know, totally worthy. So I'm going to play you a touch of my mix, and then I'm going to play you just snippets of some of the other submissions so that you can hear the different directions. And, you know, this is a fascinating kind of microcosm of if you give 100 different mix engineers the same song to mix, you're going to get 100 different mixes. There might be some overlap and some things might be, but everybody is different. And if you did the exact same test the next day, you'd get 100 different mixes, and they would all be different than the same mixers that did the same thing the day before. This is all just about vibe and flow, and just, you know, you just got to do your best. And that's, you know, good advice is whenever you feel like a mix is not coming together, let it go. Walk away from it for a while, clear your head, come back to it later or the next day or a week later or something with a fresh perspective. Okay, on to the challenge. Here is my mix of Blur, and then I'll play you everybody else's.
Lose yourself in plastic candy dolls. In the city, she looks pretty anywhere else, just like a fantasy. It's all of that. It's all of that.
All right, so that's my mix of what I gave everybody, and this is everybody's different result. Fabian Ramos threw down
Lose yourself in plastic candy dolls. In the city, she looks pretty anywhere else, just like a bad disease. It's all of that.
Nice. Jason Lee took it in a different direction.
In the city, she looks pretty anywhere else, just like a bad disease. It's all of that.
Okay, what I love about this is Jason used a production technique that I use in the real world all the time. I am constantly taking vocals and parts from one section of a song and trying them in a different section of a song while I'm producing. Usually it doesn't work. Probably 90% of the time it doesn't work. But every now and then you find the perfect combination of like, oh shit, that wasn't supposed to go together, and here they are. So if you listen, Jason took the vocal and put it over the chorus to start out.
In the city, she looks pretty anywhere else, just like a bad disease.
You know, I'll do that when I'm songwriting a lot too, just to give me different inspirations and see how different things go together. So, great work, Jason. Next up is Johan. You know, I don't know how the fuck to pronounce your last name, dude. Malemans? You're gonna have to tell me. Me and Johan and Dominic have hung out a bunch together. I'm terrible with names. Sorry, Johan. Here's Johan. I love this mix.
Lose yourself in plastic candy dolls. In the city, she looks pretty anywhere else, just like a bad disease. It's all of that.
Beautiful, nice, solid, big mix. Everything is right and right where it should be. Dormanville. This is another super creative, different direction. Dormanville.
Just like a bad disease. It's all of that.
Yep, he changed the hook. Listen.
It's all of that.
Again, this is another production technique that I use constantly, especially when I'm writing. If I'm, producing something and I have a part to a song that just isn't working great, sometimes if you just take that and offset it against the beat a little bit, or move it to a different section, or just do creative rearrangements like that, sometimes it's this is just a creative way to do it, but sometimes that technique is the magic spark. Listen to the hook, how he displaced it one more time. Just the word "it's."
Just like a bad disease. It's all of
Really creative. Good work, Dormanville. Tony Moment did just a pretty big mix.
just like a bad disease. It's all of that. It's all of that.
Great work, man. Sounds great, Tony. 3? Is that how you pronounce it? 3? 3?
In the city, she looks pretty anywhere else, just like a bad disease. It's all of that.
Really like compressed and modern rockish. I like that approach to it. A little distorted and saturated. MBI.
Lose yourself in plastic candy dolls. In the city, she looks pretty anywhere else, just like a bad disease. It's all of
Crazy. Now, on to the winners. Let's see. So I broke it down into 3 categories of winners. This was a creative mix, so I was judging on overall sonics as well as overall creativity. So for me, then I just picked winners for best overall sonics alone, and then best overall creativity alone. So best overall creativity alone goes to Dustin Marshall. Dustin Marshall, you win an Arturia modulators collection. There are 3, don't show the screen for a second, sweetie. Let me pull up the Arturia page and show these modulators, because they're totally badass. I wish I could pull them up. I haven't even installed them yet. Here we go. So DIMD, Phaser Bitron, and Flanger BL20 is up for you. And then, so Dustin Marshall, that's what you get. Ian, let me play Dustin Marshall's entry.
It's all a blur. It's all a
That's so dope. That sounds like some Blue Oyster Cult shit. I want to be like, it was a Bruce Dickinson putting my pants on one leg at a time, only when I put my pants on, I make gold records. Okay, the winner of the Sonics, Ian Benita. Great mix, dude. Sonically fucking rocked it. This sounds like a really modern rock approach. Check it out.
Like a bad disease, it's all a blur. It's all a blur.
Oh, and the winner, Thomas Irwin. Congratulations, Thomas Irwin. You win both Sonics and Creativity. I loved what you did. I'm about to play it. First runner-up, Elon Benita. Second runner-up, Justin Marshall. Elon and Justin, you guys both get the Modulators collection from Arturia Killers. And Thomas Irwin, dude, you get the FX collection, which is basically all of these. There it is. Here's the FX collection. Yeah, you get some shit. God, there is so much. Ugh. Yeah, congratulations. Here is your, here's Thomas Irwin's submission.
Just like a bad disease. Just like a bad disease.
Great work, Thomas. I love that. Was such a cool flip. When you went to that melody, I was like, all right, okay. And one note is slightly out of tune, but it's slightly out of tune in a really interesting way that makes me go like, oh, okay. Yeah, congratulations, Thomas. You get the Arturia FX collection. Yeah, great work. This was so much fun to judge and do and everything. If you want to get in on the future challenges, join the Discord Mixing Night channel. We put all of our challenges up there. Next one, I don't know if I'll do a beat challenge or a mixing challenge. You guys tell me, what do you want next? What is going to be the next Discord challenge. Either tell me on the chat roll or tell me on the Discord threads, what do you guys want to do? And then let's do that for the next episode and have a blast with it and make it fun. We've been doing beat challenges. They have been an absolute riot. Okay. On to the next. I had my itinerary in front of me, so I would know what was next, but I don't. I'm going to sprint mix something real soon and wrap up the show. Let me just do a little bit more Q&A. I'm going to finish up some Q&A to end the show, and then I'm going to sprint mix a trap song called Northside. And the Northside sprint mix is available for you. You can do it at audioschoolonline.com. You can buy the sprint mix there. 6 different levels from beginner to Jedi. I'm about to do the Jedi level, so if you want to see what is like challenging for a real pro, watch the Jedi level. And the level 1 is like super beginner. You've never mixed anything in your entire life. Level 1 is for you, and it steps you up all the way through to level 6. Okay. That's going to be in a few minutes with Northside. It's a trap song. Torrance asks, hey Ken, when starting out, is it helpful to take notes? God, yes, Torrance. Man, when I first started in New York City, I was staff at Soundtrack Recording, and I took the subway to and from work virtually every single day, and I had a spiral-bound, thick-ass notebook that I carried to and from everywhere. And I would take sessions, I would take notes, mostly if I was an assistant. I would be watching what the engineer was doing or the producer was doing and trying to figure it out and making notes accordingly. I would be doing that watching this show nonstop. My spiral bound would be right here going like, Ken did what? Are you kidding me? I got to try that later. And then after the show, I'd be on trying this shit. That's what I would be doing. Derek Bishop asks... that's a cool name, Derek. D-A-R-I-C. Derek Bishop asks, I see you are teaching what? Derek, you're going to have to contact me and tell me about this. I see that you're teaching a new online college mixing course. No, I'm not. Will a beginner be able to learn from this course? Derek, if you see me out there, I'm not teaching any college courses, so it might be a counterfeit, or you might have just misseen what you're seeing. I do, I may go back to ISPRA in Toulouse, France again this year to do a masterclass. I usually do a 1-week masterclass there every year, and then I jump off somewhere to Europe to do sessions or vacation or whatever. It's a great fucking time. But I'm hoping to go back to Toulouse this year and do another masterclass at that school again. It's such a blast. And I'm hoping, I don't know, it's a lot of ifs, if we do that, they have a great video school, and I'm hoping that maybe we can do a Mixing Night Europe and broadcast live from Europe. We'll see. I don't know. So I got to get vaccinated first. Step 1, make sure I stay alive. That is high on my list of important things to do. Tony Richards asks, hey Ken, one day could you please mix some acoustic music with acoustic guitars and a band with vocal harmonies, as many of us work on lighter material. I'd be interested in your approach there. Tony, so I just bartered for a whole bunch of new songs to use for Mixing Night. You got to get rights to these things. I can't just use anything that I want. So I have bartered for rights for a bunch of new songs for the show, and man, I found some fucking gems. And one of them, I can't remember the artist's name, country artist, all live instrumentation, beautiful arrangements. Can't even believe I found this. It's going to be awesome. I've got that stuff coming up. I don't know when, hopefully soon, but I've got a big gospel session that I'm going to be doing, like some fucking Kanye, Sunday morning gospel shit. So it's going to be a cool year for sessions. I'm throwing down. I got some good stuff. All right. Oh, I got to get to this. I meant to get to this earlier. Nora asks, I hope you're still there paying attention. You're going to laugh your ass off. Nora asks, Ken, Who was your favorite hip-hop artist that you got to... so this is the 90s. In the 90s, who was your favorite hip-hop artist that you got to track or produce or mix? What crazy stories can you share with us about the old days? All right. Let me tell you about Queen Latifah. So... You guys might know her like as the talk show host or the actress now. She sings. She's got a beautiful voice. Absolutely stunning voice. But back in the day, she was a rapper. She came up in the entertainment world strictly as a rapper. Then she started singing. Then she started acting. And then she got her own talk show and did movies and mogul shit. She's amazing. But when I worked with her, she was still... she was actually singing... it was a duet song with her and Faith Evans. It's one of my gold records. I can't remember the name of the song. Isn't that crazy? I can't remember the name of the fucking song that I have a gold record on. I remember the sessions, though. So it was just me and Latifah, and we were at Soundtrack Studio B in New York City. And Soundtrack Recording Studio B is a long, like, shotgun-style room. And the SSL is like this 12-foot long SSL, and at the end of the SSL is the vocal booth. So I'm like looking down towards Latifah, and she's in the booth recording vocals, and I'm the engineer, and I'm recording her vocals, and it's just her and me in the room and nobody else. And at one point she's like, yo, I'm sweating my ass off in here. And she had this big like athletic jersey on, and it was hot in the booth, and so I tell her, I was like, the AC is cranking as much as I can get it, but if you want another t-shirt, I always travel with a change of clothes that you can borrow my t-shirt if you want. And she's like, word? And I'm like, yeah, I don't care, borrow it. So Queen Latifah is bigger than I am. And she put on my t-shirt. I had this Ampex $4.99 t-shirt that just, you always travel with a change of clothes when you're a freelance engineer working elsewhere. And so she puts on this t-shirt, and it is the tightest thing on her arms and her chest and her body. It's like 3 sizes too small for her. And she keeps this t-shirt on all session. Friends are coming in. Monifa came in. There was like a steady stream of her friends just hanging out during the session coming in, and the whole time she's rocking this tight ass fucking t-shirt that's 4 sizes too small. Like nothing's happened at all. I just had mad respect for her. And the other thing I loved about Queen Latifah was she started cracking on me within 60 seconds of us being in the same room together. I mean, she walks in and she just went straight at me, like joking, but she just went straight at me. So I'm never one to back down. I went straight back at her, and we just clicked immediately. Within 5 minutes of recording, it felt like I had been recording her for 5 years. And she was just a consummate pro, hilarious, absolutely hilarious person, and an amazing singer. The other 90s hip-hop story that really was hugely influential on my career start was, there was a group called Double X Posse. One of the most troublemaking 90s rap groups on the East Coast. I mean, they were just a bunch of fucking thugs. Nice guys. I loved them dearly, but you did not want to get on the wrong side of these people. And they were notoriously one of the most difficult artists, clients to work with at the studio that I was a staff engineer at, Soundtrack. And nobody wanted to work with them, and I was raising my hand. So there was a new studio, Studio C, and they made the MIDI room, and they outfitted it with tons of MIDI gear and a vocal booth and a tape machine. And I begged management to let me engineer the MIDI room. Nope. They let one other guy go. He blew 2.5 pairs of speakers his first session. He was out. Second guy goes. He didn't know how to use the tape machine. He was out. They gave me third shot, and they put me in with Double X Posse, who was notoriously the most difficult client in the whole Soundtrack system. And I did their entire album in Studio C, made that room profitable for the studio, made Double X Posse happy. They didn't want to work with anybody else. I took the most difficult client in the whole building and made them my personal client. That is how you establish a career. You don't shy away from hard opportunities. You don't, run away from things that are going to be difficult. Those are the things that separate you from the rest of the pack. when you get an opportunity, you're like, man, that looks like a real fucking challenge. I don't think many people could do that. That's the one that you want to step up and do, because that's how you really separate yourself from everybody else. And that's one of the ways. I'm sure there's many, many ways. Okay, it's about time for sprint mixing. I wanted to get to this one. Harold asks, hey Ken, what is your reference point for a vocal? I spend so much time cutting, tweaking, adding plugin after plugin, hoping that at some point the vocal will magically be perfect, but I don't even know what that means. So that's way too... I can't show that in a show, but I will point you to my school, Audio School Online, Mixing Lead Vocals. What I do on Mixing Lead Vocals, it's like a 2-hour-long tutorial, and I take 5 completely different plugin chains, and I mix the same exact lead vocal 5 different times with 5 different types of plugin chains, and then I compare and contrast the results, and you can really see. And it's really eye-opening, all the different techniques and how you get to different finish lines. So check that out. All right, I'm gonna sprint mix Northside and call it a night. Thanks for hanging with me. It's been a fun evening. I hope you guys have enjoyed yourself. Thanks for keeping it civil and engaging on the chat roll. Lori and I, after these shows, we always love like going back and re-watching the broadcast and reading the chat roll as it goes. It is fucking hilarious. You guys are just, it's like one of our favorite things to do. So just know that we're always tuning. I wish I could see the chat roll live and interact with you guys that way, but just know that we're always seeing what you guys have to say and always commenting on it amongst ourselves. So thank you for that. All right, so one last thing. Here, where it is. Okay, the Northside tutorial is here. $20. What you get is all 6 different levels, 1 through 6, and you get the full marathon session, which is the entire full unedited, rough, unmixed session. So you can spend, you can get to the Jedi level, and then once you conquer the Jedi level, you can spend hours and hours and hours mixing the raw session to, a great finish line and really start, working your skills slowly. But the sprints come first. Okay. From the chat roll, Abraham Knowlton asks, hey Ken, do you have any tips for developing a thick skin working in the industry? Man, you have to. It is a must. Because it does not matter what level you're at in the music industry. Somebody else is going to try and fuck with you all the time for reasons that will be so unexplainable to you at the time that you just won't even know why this shit is happening. This is a stupid fucking industry sometimes, and with really dumb people who do dumb things. But we're in it, so what do you do? How do you grow a thick skin? You got to realize that tomorrow's another day, and if something doesn't go right today, you got to wake up tomorrow and try again. And I hopefully have never let all of the mountains of shitty things that have happened to me in the music industry turn me into a bad person and turn me into someone who would do those shitty things to somebody else. And don't ever let the fact that shitty things get to you be your excuse to do those same things to somebody else, because that is no excuse. You got to do good business. This is a microscopic industry. Everybody knows everybody. It is shocking how small it is. It looks gigantic to you. Trust me, it's tiny. So if you do bad business, word's going to get around, and nobody's going to want to work with you. If you do good business, hopefully word will get around with that too. All right, money where my mouth is. Time to sprint mix Northside. Thanks again for hanging with me. It's been Ken Lewis. Mixing night. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Set your alerts on your YouTube page, that little alarm bell. If you set that, then YouTube will automatically email you when we're live on the next show, and when we're about to go live on the next show. All right, 10 minutes on the clock. We're getting masked up. It's fucking dangerous out there, people. had a great show. Thank you so much for hanging out, everybody. I will see you in 2 weeks. We got to get the disco lights on, and we got to get 10 minutes on the clock. And boom, Northside. All right. Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Achieve the impossible, rap where you at, and don't ever forget what you learn while you living on me. Prayer says they should be, but my best is yet to come. Gotta come and get you some. I'm posted. Get you some. Come and slide on me. Train one with me. Come and put it on me, yeah. Find me, I'm posted on the north side. She fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, yeah, I'm posted on the north side. That's the calm, 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 that's the calm. I'm posted on the north side, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink. It's fun time, shorty know I like 'em slim thick. She fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, I ain't selfish, so I'm posted on the north side, so know I am straight up north. Know I am straight up north side, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink. It's fun. Thick. She fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But I ain't selfish, so know I am straight up north side, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink. It's fun time, shorty know I like 'em slim thick. She fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, I ain't selfish, so know I am straight up north side, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink. It's fun time, shorty know I like 'em slim thick. She fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, straight up north side, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink. It's fun time, shorty know I like 'em slim thick. She fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, I ain't selfish, so know I am straight up north side, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink. It's fun time, shorty know I like 'em slim thick. She fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, I ain't selfish, so know I am straight up north side, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink. It's fun time, shorty know I like 'em slim. Fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, I ain't selfish, so know I am north side, so come slide. I'm slim thick, she fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, I ain't selfish, so know I am straight. So come slide, I'm sipping on some big drink. It's fun time, show on the north side, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink. It's fun time, shorty know I like 'em slim thick. She fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, on the north side, post it 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 on. She fun, I'm up. If ever I feel stressed, I just roll a little session up. My enemies impressed, as they should be, but next to get rich and I doubt it, I met him and that ain't the way that it's looking. I'm popping regardless, I be heartless. Made some mistakes and I told myself fuck it. Don't even matter, the fuck is the matter, I gotta forget it to get me a budget. Practically dying as long as you live and proceed with precision, avoid the collision. where you at and don't ever forget. Next to get rich and I doubt it, I met him and that ain't the way that it's looking. I'm popping regardless, I be heartless. Made some mistakes and I told myself fuck it. Don't even matter, the fuck is the matter, I gotta forget it to get me a budget. Practically dying as long as you live and proceed with precision, avoid the collision. Achieve the impossible, rep where you at and don't ever forget what you learn while you living. On me, you could check the GPS, I'm up. If ever I feel stressed, I just roll a little session up. My enemies impressed as they should be, but my best to come. I don't mean to flex, but we gotta come and get you some. I'm posted on the north. Check the GPS, I'm up. If ever I feel stressed, I just roll a little session up. My enemies impressed as they should be, but my best to come. I don't mean to flex, but we gotta come and get you some. I'm posted on the north side, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink. It's fun time, shorty know I like them slim thick. She fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, yeah, I'm posted on the north side. Check the GPS, I'm up. If ever I feel stressed, I just roll a little session side. So come slide. I'm sipping on some big time. Ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, yeah, I'm posted on another brighter side. Come one time, shorty know I like them slim thick. She fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, yeah, I'm posted on another brighter side. So come slide, I'm sipping on some big drink. It's fun time, shorty know I like them slim thick. She fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, yeah, I'm posted on another brighter side. So come slide, I'm sipping on some big drink. Slim thick, she fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, yeah, I'm posted on another brighter side. So come slide, I'm sipping on some big drink. I probably pull a blade and something dripping like the dishes. They all up in my face, I tell them give me 50 inches. Yeah, and I'm 19, I'm 60 something. I'm whipping hard as I can, ho. They sending shots, but they never hitting. They still be talking like Rambo. Fuck around with the fuck around, you gon' fuck around and get cancer. Everybody want war with us, but we stocking up on that ammo. I got a plan to execute plans. I got 150 Q stands. Got 4,000 ride dick. Got a couple thousand who fan. I can tell you about me all day, but you probably never understand. I can never tell my location, but you still gon' know where I am. Straight up Northside, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink. It's fun time, shorty know I like them slim thick. She fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, I ain't south or east or west. You could check the GPS, I'm up. If ever I feel stressed, I just roll a little session up. My enemies impressed as they should be, but my best to come. I don't mean to flex. It's fun time, shorty know I like them slim thick. She fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, yeah, I'm posted on the running it up while I'm stepping. The power of jogging and jugging. The power of jigging and driving. The power of how I be pushing. Wrote it to live it and did it. They say that we did it and now they be treating me crooked. They say they next to get rich and I doubt it. I met them and that ain't the way that it's looking. I'm popping regardless, I be heartless. Made some mistakes and I told myself fuck it. Don't even matter, the fuck is the matter. I gotta forget it to get me a budget. Practically dying as long as you live and proceed with precision. Avoid the collision. Achieve the impossible, rep where you at and don't ever forget what you learn while you living. On me, you could check the GPS, I'm up. If ever I feel stressed, I just roll a little session up. My enemies impressed as they should be, but my best to come. I don't mean to flex, but we gotta come and get you some. I'm posted on the north side, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink. It's fun time, shorty know I like them slim thick. She fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But one time, yeah, I'm posted on the north side. So come slide, I'm sipping on some big drink. It's fun time, shorty know I like them slim thick. She fun size, ain't got nothing on my wish list. But but one time. I ain't south or east or west, you could check the GPS, I'm up. If ever I feel stressed, I just wrote a little session up. My enemies impressed, as they should be, but my best to come. I don't mean to flex, but we gotta come and get you some. I'm posted on the north side, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink, it's fun time. Shorty know I like them slim thick, she fun size. Ain't got nothing on my wish list, but once.
Woo! 10 minutes, start to finish. Northside Sprint Mix. I'm going to turn that off. Northside Sprint Mix. It's available at audioschoolonline.com. 6 levels plus the marathon. Thank you for joining me for mixing night. I'm going to play this down and say good night. See if I can get Mazakine back in here for good night. Thank you, everyone. It's Ken Lewis signing off.
Posted on the north side, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink, it's fun time. Shorty know I like them slim thick, she fun size. Ain't got nothing on my wish list, but one time. I ain't south or east or west, you could check the GPS, I'm up. If ever I feel stressed, I just wrote a little session up. My enemies impressed, as they should be, but my best to come. I don't mean to flex, but we gotta come and get you some. I'm posted on the north side, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink, it's fun time. Shorty know I like them slim thick, she fun size. Ain't got nothing on my wish list, but one time. Yeah, I'm posted on the night and all that probably looking different. The problem with these people is they never mind their business. I probably pull up late and something dripping like the dishes. They all up in my face, I tell them give me 50 inches. Yeah, and I'm 19, I'm 60 some. I'm whipping hard as I can, ho. They sending shots, but they never hitting. They still be talking like Rambo. Fuck around with the fuck around, you gon' fuck around and get cancer. Everybody want war with us, but we stocking up on that ammo. I got a plan to execute plans. I got 150 Q stands. Got 4,000 ride dick. Got a couple thousand who fan. I can tell you about me all day, but you probably never understand. I can never tell my location, but you still gon' know where I am. I'm posted on the north side, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink, it's fun time. Shorty know I like them slim thick, she fun size. Ain't got nothing on my wish list, but one time. I ain't south or east or west, you could check the GPS, I'm up. If ever I feel stressed, I just wrote a little session up. My enemies impressed, as they should be, but my best to come. I don't mean to flex, but we gotta come and get you some. I'm posted on the north side, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink, it's fun time. Shorty know I like them slim thick, she fun size. Ain't got nothing on my wish list, but one time. Yeah, I'm posted on the running it up while I'm stepping. The power of jogging and jogging, the power of jigging and driving, the power of how I be pushing. Wrote it to live it and did it, they say that we did it and now they be treating me crooked. They say they next to get rich and I doubt it, I met them and that ain't the way that it's looking. I'm popping regardless, I be heartless. Made some mistakes and I told myself fuck it. Don't even matter, the fuck is the matter, I gotta forget it to get me a budget. Practically dying as long as you live and proceed with precision, avoid the collision. Shitty impossible rep where you at and don't ever forget what you learn while you living. On me, you could check the GPS, I'm up. If ever I feel stressed, I just wrote a little session up. My enemies impressed, as they should be, but my best to come. I don't mean to flex, but we gotta come and get you some. I'm posted on the north side, so come slide. I'm sipping on some big drink, it's fun time. Shorty know I like them slim thick, she fun size. Ain't got nothing on my wish list, but one time. Yeah, I'm posted on the north side.